Se siente un temblor, se está moviendo el piso. Ustedes ya saben qué es lo que tienen que hacer en este momento. Conservar la calma y evacuar de inmediato. Me voy a levantar y voy a evacuar.
This episode brought to you by Scandalous. We are scandalous. We are scandalous.
Oh my gosh, podcast. Oh, wait, before we get into this, it's Women's History Month. Silver, it's all yours.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, Val,
you're in charge.
You all
what
have to bow down to me for this whole month.
Continuously?
That's the rules.
It's Women's History Month. We bow down to those who passed on.
Well,
you gotta die before I do that.
I am the first Godzilla cat in history, so...
And therefore, not a woman.
Well, what is
Herstory.
How dare you?
a woman? No, it's women's... Like, do I have to consistently bow down the whole month? Or, like, am I just 90 degrees over?
Just once is enough.
Every time you're not carrying out my orders, you have to be around bowing down.
So I'm just half. Okay, I'm just half bent over. I mean, these are the rules.
Constantly kind of bending.
Okay, yeah.
As you do stuff.
She is in charge. So the intro's all yours. What's going on?
Oh, well. Welcome. I've never done an intro. This is great. Welcome, everyone. I'll just do what you usually do. Rhett, how's it going?
Pretty good. I am well over 110 plus hours into Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. It's enjoyable. I'm still hesitant, so the game is still good, but certain things have changed, and I don't know what the ending's going to be. And the ending is going to be, they could ruin it, or it could be good. So, like, I could be like, oh, I love this game, everything's awesome, and then get all the way to the end and be like, that was bullcrap. So we'll see.
You know, the thing is,
the ending goes.
Even if the ending is like mediocre, it still ruins the whole ending. You know what I mean? At this point for this game.
Yeah, it's too big. There's too much weight on it. In all likelihood. So in the original one, spoilers if you haven't played a game that's like 30 years old. But spoilers, the original one, Aerith dies. I don't know what happens in this one, and it's likely going to end around that situation.
I don't know how I feel about the fact that again, spoiler alert, apparently this is like a new timeline, so
well, right, so something could be different, and I'm still waiting for that to happen. But it's like everybody was upset with Aerith, but you kill somebody else, they might even be more upset. So I don't know. I
was wondering, think they'd kill someone else and leave her alone?
Well, they may, and that's the thing. I haven't gotten there yet, and that's why the playtime's so long, is because I'm doing all of the extra missions. Every
I mean,
little
the
bit.
thing with Final Fantasy VII, I mean, even the original one, you wanted to grind between story beats because if you didn't, you were underpowered for when you had to do those boss fights, and those boss fights were stupid difficult, and you had to have all the right equipment and the right materia equipped and the right items to revive your party if you went down, and yeah, it just took a long time to do
Besides that,
anything to get anywhere in that game.
it did. Well, I mean, it's an RPG. I watched a bunch of
Yeah, it is.
anime. It's not really
The thing is
worth
that
getting into specifically.
you didn't mind. You didn't mind that it took time. You were looking forward to the time that you were sinking into it.
Yes. But besides that, a lot of anime. Yeah, I've been a bit
What'd you
under the weather
watch?
this week, but that's pretty much it. Yeah. Unless you want me to get into details of all the weird anime I'm watching.
I am curious. What
All
other
right.
did you watch?
Well, let's pull up the list, young lady.
On the list.
Well, see, that's the problem when you're watching stuff on Crunchyroll. It's like you'll binge watch, and they're short episodes, they're like 24-minute episodes. And then if you cut out credits and stuff, then you're taking out like 3 minutes of that. And so you'll binge watch, and especially new and popular shows that are still airing, and you blow through 8 episodes, and you'll be like, oh, well, it's still airing, and I guess I watched everything. So you'll watch another show, and then blow through everything that's available for that. So suddenly you've blown through like 3 or 4 seasons that are partially done, and now you're just waiting for single episodes to finish. And then you watch them and you're like, oh yeah, I don't remember what anime this was, because you've watched like 3 other seasons in the meantime by the time they have a new episode. Solo Leveling, which is the new big hype popular thing at the moment.
Yeah, that one looked pretty good.
It's all right. The animation style is butt. It's not it's not a pretty. I don't care for the animation style. The story is
Isn't that a
interesting.
Chinese studio?
It's Korean, from what I could tell.
Korean.
Well, the names are Korean. I don't know what they could be a Chinese studio, but the names are Korean. But besides that, essentially, it's like an isekai-ish, where portals are opening up in the world and monsters
South
come
Korean.
out. So people, well, obviously, I'm not talking about North Korea, Jason.
No. I was looking at the Wikipedia page, and it says that it specifically says South Korean. So you're right.
Well,
it wouldn't be North Korean.
Well, it's just you had that Jason correction that you like to. Well, actually, South Korean. It's like, well, I'm not knowledgeable of the extensive anime library of North Korea.
Well, you know, you're missing out. They have an extensive library. We just can't get to it because we're in the West, and we, you know,
I mean, they
they
have
don't
a really
export.
great kaiju monster movie, so
Yeah, they did. They kidnapped that guy.
We got to look out for Silver, because we don't want that Korean extraction team to be kidnapping her and bringing her back to make kaiju movies for the, you know,
no
for
Polka
Kim Jong
Sally 2 for
Un
Val.
or whoever it is now.
But
Yeah,
anyway,
I can't do that.
portals
I'm terrified.
portals open up. Well, Godzilla's actually got some recent accolades we're going to talk about that you're going to be jealous of here, Silver. But the portals open up in the world.
He's your
I'm
more
never-
famous cousin.
I'm never going to get through
No.
this. Portals open up in the world, and monsters are coming out, and then they're like, certain people have special abilities like magic and stuff, so only they could fight the monsters. So when they go into the portals, it's like fantasy fights with swords to fight the monsters. And there's material in there that's like extremely valuable that they're going to try and use for like renewable resources, I guess.
Right.
And the main point of it is whatever power you're blessed with, if you're given the ability to go into the portals, you get decent amount of money doing it. because the material and stuff is worth a bunch of money. But whatever power you have is the power you have. Like there's nothing more you can get. So if you start out with just the worst power possible, that's all you got. This one guy went in, and long story short, he's one of the weakest people ever. He did something brave and survived somehow, and he was granted this ability by some god where he's the only person that can level up in the entire world. So his power just starts to shoot up dramatically because he's a chosen one or whatever. There's a lot of like paranoia, like you seriously just die in this world, like you can just die and people die. So there's like actually stakes involved, which is nice. But it's another, they're video gamey, like he could see menus and stuff, and it's like, okay. All right. It's just a dime a dozen in that, but as far as it's interesting, at least. Sasaki and Peeps, which is one of the weirdest shows I've ever. It's confusing. I don't know if you've heard of that, Silver.
What's it called?
Sasaki and Peeps.
I haven't.
An office manager.
I'm gonna look this up.
An office manager
Sasaki
gets a bird because he's lonely and all he does is office manager stuff, and he was going to get a cat, but they're too expensive, so he gets a bird. And then he finds out the bird talks and is a god from another world. And he grants him superpowers and then allows him to travel to this other world that's like medieval fantasy world with magic. And so now he has magic powers. And as businessman, he starts to bring like goods to the other world and sell them at like exorbitant prices because he in the first day he brings in like, here are these magical high quality products like notepads and pens and you know what I mean? Like
from
stuff.
My office supplies.
Yeah, well, he basically buys everything at like the local convenience store, and at some point he brings in like he sells them walkie-talkies and binoculars, and they're like, "What is this magical device?" So he's basically just he's just upselling like items that are normal here but are considered high quality in a medieval setting.
Yeah.
And then it gets weirder where he runs into somebody fighting in an alleyway in his normal world with psychic powers. And so he helps, and then they think he has psychic powers, even though he doesn't. So now he's recruited into a psychic spy agency of the government. So in his world, he's part of a psychic spy agency. And then in the other world, he goes there and he trades them goods from the normal world. And then in his spy agency fights, he ends up running into this new woman who's from another dimension who uses magic, like fairy magic, and she hates psychics. And he's like, I'm not a psychic, I use magic. It's so convoluted. Like it keeps adding more. Like next thing I know, it's going to be like some space related thing. Like just any genre.
Probably.
Cram it in to this show. It's really, it's absurd. It's I'm watching it, so go for me. I watched Inspector that was good and then got really boring.
Yeah.
I watched The Wrong Way to Use.
I saw that one a while back.
Well, it's like Inspector's really interesting, and then halfway through they have this fight with this ghost that lasts 5 episodes, and I'm like, I don't care anymore. This was good, and then it wasn't. I watched Buddy Daddies. Funny enough, so the premise is Buddy Daddies is 2 hitmen.
That one looked good.
Adopt a little girl. And immediately you're thinking, your first idea is, oh, well, they're gay. Weirdly enough, they are not gay. They just happen to be roommates who adopt a little girl, and she calls them both daddy. And they take her to preschool and stuff. So now you're thinking, well, everybody else thinks they're gay. Weirdly enough, no one assumes they're gay. Like not a like
so
any
weird.
Of the mothers there. Any of the mothers at the preschool don't think they're gay, even though she has 2 fathers. No one thinks they're gay. And that's the first thing you would think of.
We decided
well,
to adopt this girl.
Sort of. Like all of them are like, oh my
We're
gosh,
best
you guys
bros.
are so dreamy. Yeah, they're texting each other in the mom group about how dreamy they look. It's like, you wouldn't assume they're gay? Like she calls him daddy and stuff.
Yeah.
It was actually kind of fun. It's a one and done season. There's not going to be a second one. I watched it with my mother and she enjoyed it. She thought it was fun. I know I don't need to rant more. I've caught up with Log Horizon. Anyway, I'm done.
Fun. Well, the best anime ever comes out soon.
Well, what is it?
I bet you can guess what it is. Season
Black
3.
Butler?
Black Butler.
Yes.
Oh my gosh!
April 13th.
Silver's
It's coming
favorite
up.
anime. Oh. You gonna need my Crunchyroll password for this? You gonna need my Crunchyroll password for? Are you gonna need my Crunchyroll password to watch it? Yeah, I think you might.
Yes, I need.
It's not a want. I need it.
I need it.
Black but I tried watching it and
Anyway.
I couldn't. But yeah.
You tried watching what?
Black Butler is just it's
Black
too
Butler.
Oh.
I knew immediately when I was telling you about it. I'm like, you wouldn't like this.
much. Yeah, this isn't for you.
Like, yeah, I don't think you can make it through the first 10 minutes, let's be honest.
I didn't make it through the first 10 minutes.
Well,
I should give it a more well, you did. I should give it a more fair try to be fair, but I didn't. So it's on me.
That was me with Parks and Rec. I didn't make it
Parks
through
and
the
Rec
opening
sucks.
credits.
Well, you got to make it past the opening. You got to get to the first joke, Jason. Good Lord.
I couldn't stand it.
You get through the opening sequence and you're like, I'm done.
I hate those kind of shows.
I tried to give it a shot, and I'm just like, this is nails on a chalkboard. I got to turn it off.
I avoided it forever. Finally sat through and watched all the Parks and Rec once. There's some parts that are funny. It reminds me a little bit of The Office. It's not very good overall. It's not.
Yeah, I never watched it. I never even bothered.
The Office is good.
Worth it.
Alright. Need to know.
The Office is good. Don't bother with anything else.
No.
I actually haven't seen much of The Office, so...
It's good. There's
I'll have to watch
romance
that.
in it.
Quality.
And because you're a girl and this is Women's Month, there's romance in it, so you might be into that.
Yeah, you know how late.
Oh, I might be into it now that there's romance in it. I gotta go watch it.
That's right.
Because you're a cliche woman. When
Much
was
like
the last
Black
time you
Butler,
watched?
I now need it.
Well, you are. What do they call it? Husbando with Mr. Sebastian or whatever.
Husbando.
Husbandos, yes. Sebastian Michaelis, excuse me.
Oh God.
I love to make you all disgusted. It's my favorite.
How's it feel, Steve?
It doesn't feel good.
None of that.
It doesn't feel good.
Yeah.
No good.
You're in charge, Silver.
You
What's
good.
that?
Oh, am I still in charge?
Yes.
Oh gosh. Anyone else want to talk about their weeks, Ross?
I watched The Godfather Part 1. It's a fantastic movie as
Ooh.
always.
You're doing kind of
And I
your
started
Jewish mother
playing-
voice.
Yeah.
Well, it's because it's such a wonderful movie. Even though he's not Jewish, that they can make such good films. Oh my God, those Italians! Those Italians in the '70s, they made wonderful films. And I started playing Ayuden Chronicles Rising, and it's also good. I have enjoyed playing it because I finally beat my baby game for babies, SpongeBob Battle for Bikini
SpongeBob.
Bottom. So it's
Yeah.
time to move on to something a little more adult. Thank you.
You're moving up in the world.
That's right. I like it, but I don't know. I'll show at some point. Like maybe I'll take a video of you guys for you guys on Xbox. But like, I hate some of the character models and how they move. It looks really cheap and crappy, and man, I miss real sprites. They looked so good. But
Yeah, it's like I just get. I'm always looking for something new to play or whatever. I was just looking at the sprites and stuff. The concept art looks nice, but against the backgrounds, they look really weird.
and they move weird too. Some of them they move like not very smoothly. Like it almost looks like a Flash game, like a really good Flash game. Some of the animation in it from like 15 years ago. It's hard to explain. I both like the game, but I hate that part of it because I think it just because it's
Well,
supposed to be like the spiritual successor to Suikoden. Like that's kind of because it's a lot of the same devs came back and made a new game, and it has that feeling to it, like the art style of like the concept art, the character art, very similar.
And
I mean, it
you're a
does look
hard
like
Suikoden
it's
fan.
it's almost
I love
it's
it.
almost like the background is like supposed to be realistic, and then the character models are anime, so it just doesn't work.
Yeah, like because the backgrounds are really well done, like genuinely. But yeah, some of the character models I don't like, especially when they're moving. I hope the new one, like 100 Heroes, I hope it's done a little bit better. But in the
It's
first one,
funny
Rising,
how it's funny how art style and the look of something can take something that might be really good, but immediately like sour any perspective of it. Where you're like,
yeah,
I don't like it.
yeah. I'm really hoping 100 Heroes because it looks better, at least the images that I've seen. But it just released today, so I'll give it a go after I beat the first one.
Well, looks yeah,
Cool.
interesting.
Have anything, Jason?
Well, I played Yoshi's Crafted World a little bit.
Not
It's
Talk about a
a
baby game for babies.
it's a Mario. It's a Nintendo game, so it was good. No
They're
problems with
charming and
that. But I
fun.
also played a little bit of yes. I also played a little bit of Monster Hunter Rise, and I don't know why people like that game. So
Oh my gosh, my
Oh,
my
just-
brother got me that game, and I probably played like 20 minutes.
I think that's about how much time I put into it too. The thing is the controls aren't very intuitive, and there's apparently there is a way to lock on to the enemy that you're facing, but it's like you have to put it in easy mode to actually get that feature. And so you're running around, and it's like I'm trying to swing at something, and I have to keep fighting the camera to put it where I need it to be so that I can actually hit something with my sword. So most of the time I'm just hitting the ground. I was like, come on, why are you not letting me lock on to the creature that I'm fighting that is trying to kill me, please?
I want to say
So
you can lock on if
Yeah.
you use the insect glaive, but then that's a whole different weapon thing, and you gotta
yeah.
feed the damn bug, and it's a thing.
I knew the last one you can lock on. I think with just any weapon. I don't know why they got rid of it.
Well, no, I think it's so I when you're playing it, this thing popped up on the screen and it's like push this to lock on, and you push the right thumbstick and it locks on for a second to like adjust the camera so you're facing what you're attacking, but it doesn't keep the lock. And I went and looked up later to see if there was a way to do it, and it was like, okay, you have to go into the settings and you have to then tell it that you want it to do the lock and keep the lock. And I forget what the setting is, but it's like, well, why do I have to go change the settings? Shouldn't you make it so that the player is locked onto their enemy? I mean, that any other game would be like, okay, here's the lock on, and it just locks on. And this is just like, why am I fighting the camera and the terrain and the creatures? Why are you guys making this more difficult than it needs to be? So I don't think I'll go back.
Get Good Scrub, I guess would be.
But yeah, Yoshi's Crafted World it's a Mario game. It's charming. It's fun to play. It is bubblegum, but there's nothing wrong with bubblegum.
Well, Nintendo games are charming and fun regardless, even if they're silly and simple. You're having a
Yes,
good
they're
time.
adorable. Meanwhile, I got stuck playing Power Wash Simulator.
Yeah.
My spring break, I was literally running around doing a bunch of other stuff. And I'm like, I know if I sit down and play something, I'll want to get really into it. I just don't have time for it. So I'm like, I'll try Power Wash Simulator.
Yeah.
It's a relaxing
My
time.
gosh.
It's got that sort of like mowing the lawn sort of. You want to fill in all the things. You want to clean all the bits.
Yeah, I'm making like perfect lines. You power wash a whole playground.
Did you draw lewd
Hey,
characters?
that game's got
dirt?
lore to it too, by the way. It's got a really weird story.
I heard something about that. I have no idea what the story is, but
The fact that it has a story at all.
Yeah. I heard some people speculating like, the story's like supposed to be really dark or something. I'm like, I don't see it.
Well, I played that co-op with Ross, and then he got too obsessed with it and just passed me by and then beat it, and I never got any further than me and you played.
It was just, it's something to play while I listen to my stories.
To my stories.
Well, let's see. We got a comment here. Rhett says, Jason sucks. Interesting.
It sounds like a straight shooter. Well, that's a go-getter right there. He has a good point, too. To help you out a little bit, we have the Kotaku stuff. We could talk about Akira Toriyama. There's the news dump. Or just, women's issues, like tampons and things.
We could start with Akira Toriyama.
Yeah, he passed away a couple weeks ago. And we didn't talk about it because we were full up with just news and stuff. And I wanted to give, like we're not necessarily here for every hype thing that we have to talk to all of the time. But, yeah, I wanted to give it at least a little bit more time than simply like, he passed away. That's too bad. Akira Toriyama had massive effect on not just anime and propelling anime into sort of collective world conscience, especially reaching the West, but as well as like video games. Stuff like Chrono Trigger. There's that new Sandtown coming out. All of Dragon Quest was all influenced by his artwork and stuff. And Dragon Ball, massive hit. Everybody talks about it. Akira was what brought anime to the West. Dragon Ball established anime in the West. That's what made it a thing.
Yeah.
The joke being that what was it? South America drug cartels calling a day of silence because Akira Toriyama passed away because of how popular Dragon Ball is in South America. I could tell you, I saw a lot of Dragon Ball in Brazil when I was down there. Kids watching it, kids with t-shirts. Yes, Dragon Ball is massive in South America. It's everywhere, and by and large, the man was loved, and he had some great stuff. Like Dragon Ball's a fun show, despite the criticisms and despite the silly, like overextended episodes and dragging things out. And he was in his 60s, which feels kind of early for me.
He was almost 70. He was 68 when he died.
Yeah, 68. I was going to say 67, but I was close. Chrono Trigger.
Apparently. Apparently he died, and they held a private funeral, and then his studio announced a week after he passed away that he had died.
Wow.
So
Toonami did a Dragon Ball sort of multiple days of just constant Dragon Ball in his honor. Seeing as how Toonami was just Dragon Ball all the time back in the day.
that's
So
awesome.
yeah, it's a big bummer. Does anyone have reflections on Mr. Toriyama and his work? I've been playing Dragon Quest. It's not a game that was ever up my alley or on my radar, but I was always aware of it, and I'm a fan of JRPGs. And I, with the PlayStation Plus, I got and went and downloaded Dragon Ball and Dragon Quest, and it's a blast, and it's very Akira Toriyama artwork.
I actually check. So I ran across Dr. Slump when I was at the library, and because I saw that it was like right on the cover, same art, same author as Dragon Ball. I'm like, yeah, well, I'll check it out. And it was pretty good. I enjoyed it. But yeah, just the fact that um, Dragon Ball had such an enduring legacy. Not just, I mean, Dragon Ball is going to endure. The legacy of it's going to endure after his passing, but the fact that it made a legacy for itself while he was still alive, um, and that it really, like you said, Akira made it so that people were in the United States were more interested in anime, but Dragon Ball really got that, once that toehold was made, Dragon Ball just kind of forced it open, and we have what we have because of his work, which is awesome.
Well, precisely so. And people talk about how big Pokemon was. Dragon Ball was big before Pokemon. Dragon Ball was
Oh
big
yeah.
before Naruto.
Oh yeah.
Like Dragon Ball was the stuff. Like Dragon Ball opened the door so Pokemon could do things.
Yeah.
Sweet. Ross, anything, or we're good?
I like Dragon Ball a lot. With like little baby Goku. That was one of my favorite shows. That I'd watch after school or whatever. But because by the time I was able to get into Dragon Ball Z, they were in the Majin Buu saga, and I'll be honest, it wasn't very good. But Dragon Ball is awesome. I wish I could find physical media of it with the dub, because that's some nostalgia for me. But yeah, very. I mean, obviously, very, like you guys all said, very uh, influential, and he influenced a lot. And it's a bummer that he's gone kind of young. Like, that sucks. But he left an amazing
It's
legacy behind that most people in the
he
creator space
did
would be very jealous of.
a
Oh yeah.
long-lasting legacy. It's funny. I know Silver doesn't have a lot of or any experience with Dragon Ball except for, like way too late nights killing each other in Dragon Ball Fighter Z.
That's an amazing
Yeah.
game.
Yes, we spent a lot of time calling each other names and trying to beat each other in Dragon Ball Fighter Z. Ross has heard those conversations. They're
Even though I
absurd.
don't know a lot of Dragon Ball, even just like even based on that game and seeing bits and pieces, I loved his characters.
They're great.
Just a lot of them are lovable.
Well, except
Even
for Yamcha.
Yamcha.
No, Yamcha's a chode.
Yeah.
Yamcha.
Yamcha.
No, shut up about Yamcha. Stop
Unsurprisingly,
talking about him.
Biru's my favorite. Love you, Biru.
Well, that's because he's a cat. That's why.
Yes, but I love him.
Yes, the god of destruction that everyone's afraid of. Biru's my favorite because he's a kitty cat. Oh.
But it's so fitting that a cat would be, yeah, I'm gonna kill you all. And you give good food. No, I'll let you live. It's great.
What else we got? You want to move on there, Silver? Or we got tampon conversations? I got a lot to say. Silver? Silver, you're in charge.
Val,
Oh,
Can I
no.
hear you?
we're leaderless. Oh no.
Oh gosh.
Panic.
Oh,
For a second there, I thought her connection had dropped.
Yeah, I was still in here and could hear you, but suddenly it just went. Dun.
we're leaderless.
What's happening?
It's Lord of the Flies. We'll start killing each other, and we'll
Got it.
kill Ross for the pig god.
Yes.
Yeah, you know I'm instigating that, Ross. I'm sorry, but
It's gotta happen.
now someone has to go. It's gonna be you. What are we doing, Silver?
What else do we have? Kotaku news.
We have Kotaku conversation and a lot of news. Do we want to get into Kotaku?
Sure. Unless you want to go
okay.
to the news stuff.
All right. So everybody, drama at Kotaku. It feels like every week now there's a big discussion about, hey, major media group that's instrumental in gaming is collapsing and going away, everybody. And here we are once again, Kotaku being one of the most notorious and hated of the internet game news sites. Like, Kotaku was the center of Gamergate 1. It was Kotaku.
That's true.
It was Kotaku reporters who were sleeping with Zoe Quinn, giving her good reviews. It was people that worked for Kotaku that were involved with Anita Sarkeesian. It's people working with Kotaku who were sleeping with Zoe Quinn and giving her awards at the same like there's a lot of problems at Kotaku. Before we get into the direct drama, just to give you an idea of the quality of work that's come out of Kotaku, I have put together a list of some interesting article headlines to give you an idea of what Kotaku is all about. All right. Halo Infinite's oddball Quidditch glitch lets you live up to your transphobic wizard dreams.
Oh my gosh.
At E3, Soul Calibur's objectified women felt like a relic of the past. Sweet Baby Inc. doesn't do what gamers think it does, except for, when the Sweet Baby Inc.'s CEO actually tells you what they're doing. Hogwarts Legacy lead designer used to run anti-social justice YouTube channel. That's a newsworthy article. I've got a lot of these. Final Fantasy XIV's crafting system turned me into a capitalist swine.
Nice.
That's
instead of actually reporting on the like games and what's going on with the state of development of games and stuff, they're just mudslinging at this point in time, trying to establish their relevance by dragging other people down. I got it.
These are quick clickbaity.
They go away fast enough for me.
They're clickbaity opinion pieces is essentially what they do.
Yeah, this is like the Vice News tactic.
Here's how to draw real boobies. An actual article. FYI, butts are off limits in Nintendo games, but penises aren't. I think they were talking about Animal Crossing, strangely. Why were there no women in the opening scene of Saving Private Ryan? Ross,
let's see.
Help us with that?
I wonder why.
Because there weren't any women at D-Day. Yeah, I'm just guessing here. Just, spitballing.
So you're saying the American Army was sexist in the 1940s? Checkmate, Jason.
My gosh.
Why weren't women on the very first waves of Omaha Beach?
They would have drowned.
Oh.
Okay,
there were plenty of men who drowned too. So,
how I achieved greatness on a Sonic the Hedgehog themed bed.
Oh my gosh.
Article.
What?
I don't listen. Just
No, Ross, this isn't over. We're halfway through. There's a lot more to go.
I can't do anymore. This is enough.
Man who directed Bayonetta clueless about
no
PC
good.
gaming. Let's see. Why were there no women presenters at the PlayStation 4 event? Why were there?
Jesus, that really matters.
Why the Apple trackpad might be the best video game controller ever made.
Oh my gosh.
Um,
Who told
Ubisoft
these people that they could report? Period.
Well, this is top line journalism. Ubisoft refused to talk to me about women. That's a title of an article. The gay joke in Far Cry 3.
Why are you asking Ubisoft about women?
You're asking questions
Because
I don't
they're
have
French.
answers to. Whoa. Oui.
I mean, seriously, ask Ubisoft about Assassin's Creed, about Prince of Persia, about anything that they're developing. That's what you should be doing.
You are so sexist.
It's true. The gay joke in Far Cry 3 Blood Dragon is harmless. Or is it?
Or is
Is there even one?
I'm sure because it's like an '80s theme, so I'm sure there's some
Like a
dumb thing
bro
in it, but-
DLC, yeah.
Yeah.
How women could easily lose all their rights as told by a game.
Oh my god!
Two
Watch out!
more.
Val. They're coming.
Yeah, that
Two
can
more.
happen.
How Super Mario characters have sex.
Oh my god!
I, feel
I
like
hate
this is
all of
broken
this.
again.
That's no good.
This is no good.
Silver's on the
Seriously.
button. And the final, which Mario Kart 64 character sounds the horniest?
Oh my god!
No.
I hate
Oh my gosh.
life.
Seriously, can we push these people out the door faster?
Reading these.
So, this is the quality of work that came out of Kotaku. Regardless of your opinion on the work that they're producing, by and large, they produce opinion pieces that are very politically in one direction and clickbaity.
Obviously.
Just to read, so one of the most notorious of these people is Patricia Hernandez, who came in 10 plus years ago to Kotaku as lead editor-in-chief, something like that. I'm going to read you an excerpt from her PS5 review for the release of the PS5. You ready for this?
No, but go ahead.
Here's a section of the PS5 review. But I'd be remiss to ignore all the reasons not to be excited for the PlayStation 5. The world is still reeling under the weight of the COVID pandemic. There are more Americans out of work right now than at any point in the country's history, with no relief in sight. Our healthcare system is in an inherently evil institution that forces people to ration life-saving medication like insulin and choose suicide over suffering with untreated mental illness. As I'm writing this, it looks very likely that Joe Biden will be our next president, but it's clear that the worst people aren't going away. Just because a new old white man is sitting behind the Resolute desk, well, at least not this old white man. Our government is fundamentally broken in a way that necessitates radical change rather than incremental electoralism. The harsh truth is that, for the reasons listed above and more, a lot of people simply won't be able to buy a PlayStation 5. Regardless of supply.
So anyway, the Sony PlayStation 5.
Regardless of supply, or if they can, concerns over increasing austerity in the United States and the growing threat of widespread political violence supersede any enthusiasm about the console's solid-state drive or how ray tracing makes reflections more realistic. That's not to say you can't be excited for those things. I certainly am, on some level. But there's an irrefutable level of privilege attached to the ability to simply tune out the world as it burns around you. This is a PlayStation 5 review from Kotaku.
Oh my gosh, this is not a review. This is an opinion piece on her view of the world. has
To
nothing.
be fair,
it almost has
Jason-
nothing to do with the PlayStation 5. You
Well,
could
no,
completely remove that and
Jason-
still have a coherent article.
Jason, to be fair, Patricia did write a bunch of other things about the PlayStation 5. She just felt it necessary to point out, amidst the excitement about the PlayStation 5, why should we be excited with all of the other drama? So she did talk about the PlayStation 5.
The PlayStation 5 is coming out, but you should all be sad because the world is in a state. It's burning down around you. I mean, come on. What kind of journalism is this?
As I expect to review Ghostbusters next week, because I'm going to see it next week, I expect that in my review, I will stop and talk about how it's related to the shootings in Moscow. Because that would be the socially...
paper, you would get an F.
That would be the socially responsible thing to do, Silver.
In the current climate.
True. But in my theoretical class...
In the class that I'm teaching, you would get an F.
Oh my god.
I just highlight that whole section and go, why?
Okay.
It's not pertinent.
I'm not passing Silver's class.
Oh, man.
So now, I didn't pull up the website with all our comments before, but I'm going to pull up this one. So we can read about what her vision was for Kotaku. Hello, Kotaku, we meet again, but this time nobody can stop me. I kid. Truthfully, I've been avoiding writing this post. The one that acknowledges I'm back, and also I'm in charge now. At first, this was easy. This was written in... No, I don't want your 2021. Let's see. Let's skip down and go, but also I want to dismantle and redefine what a video game website can be. I do not like what I see. Where to even begin? I hate that nearly every website day to day is predicated on the release schedule and news cycle set by publishers. I hate coverage cycle of big budget video games and how a game is never more important than when it doesn't exist yet, or when it just launched. I hate that so much of what video game websites consider worthy of coverage is often written for specific types of presumed reader. It does not matter if a website is considered progressive. It says everything that when writing about certain issues. Video game websites often have to take care in explaining basic ass concepts like racism is real. At some point, having to explain power dynamics over and over again is not a question of informing the readership. It is a tacit acknowledgement that our audience likely has a specific background, and consequently that reality means that even as we cover more mainstream subjects or marginalized identities, the writing is not truly for that wider audience. This haunts me. The presumed reader looks or sounds nothing like me, and yet here I am leading a video game site. This was her vision for Kotaku.
Okay,
So anyway, Assassin's Creed Origins.
Whoever hired this lady made a mistake. A huge mistake. She never should have been put in charge of a gaming website, a gaming reporting company. That was a huge mistake, and no wonder it's going down the tubes. If they've got this kind of leadership saying, you know what, instead of reporting on games, we need to be reporting on the issues. No, you need to be moving over to like Fox News or CNN or one of the actual news sites. That's their job to report on this kind of stuff. Here at a video game site, we want to hear about the releases. We want to hear about how the video games are doing. That's what you're supposed to do, because that's what we, the people who are going to be going to you, that's what we're going to want. And when you come up with this kind of garbage, no wonder you're going down the tubes here.
Well, let me read the next.
Your own stupid fault.
Let me read the next paragraph. It's not a matter of being woke. It's a matter of survival. Video game website says they exist now repeatedly fail to represent the wide swath of people who play games. And every year that passes, this failure becomes more and more evident. Everyone plays games now, yet most of the people hardly frequent video game websites unless they know how to do something. Look.
Okay. One of the first things I want to say right here is that not everyone is a gamer who plays games.
Well, go ahead, because I got a rant in me.
Go for it.
Well, so see,
I just wanted to say, when they lump us all together and say, look, everybody plays games, it's like, no, there are people who play games and there are gamers. There are differences there. My wife plays games, but she is not a gamer. She doesn't she doesn't game. She'll play like puzzle games on her phone. That's not a gamer. Now, as a gamer, I do enjoy those puzzle games, but I
Why are you
also enjoy
gatekeeping?
everything else in the genre.
Stop
And so you
gatekeeping.
can't just say, look, we've got to open this up for everybody. Sure, fine, open this up for everybody, but do that by publishing pieces on like the best mobile games. Not, what we really need is more representation in video games. No, you don't. You need good stories with good gameplay. Once you get that, people aren't going to care. And the people who do care have no empathy. There's something broken in their brains if they cannot look at a character and at least empathize with that character, no matter what they look like. That is you, not the video game developer. So,
you're not wrong, but let's steer it back to gaming media as a whole, because obviously, so she's talking in terms of, I don't like that we have this constant cycle of reporting on games. I don't like that we cater to a specific audience that's mostly not something that I agree, an audience that I don't agree with or have anything in common with. And we're going to fail because we need to talk to everybody. Despite the fact that that audience you seem to not like, let's be honest, white males, make up like 90% of the gaming audience.
Yep.
I mean, maybe 80 or whatever. And so when she says, it's not a matter of being woke, it's a matter of survival, that we need to cater to everybody.
No, she shot herself in the foot right there.
Well, right. And this is what every company out there does. What everybody means, what inclusivity means, is I'm going to cater to like 3% of the population and alienate the rest. There's statistics for a reason.
If this was actually about survival, they would actually focus on the largest demographic that they could, because that's going to be the largest market share that's going to give them money, as opposed to, what we need to do. We really need to focus on the guys who are yelling the loudest. And
well, you know what would be better
else.
Instead of catering specifically to one demographic, like even just the largest one, you sort of try and talk about what's popular and not cater to any demographic, because that's kind of weird and bigoted and racist. Like, you don't have to simply only talk to the white population. You can talk about games in general and your love of games, and you'll access everybody that plays games, not just the white population. True. You don't have to cater. You can just talk about the love of games.
The thing is that by catering is probably the wrong word. What I probably should have said is I should have said concentrating. You should have been concentrating on actually reporting on gaming. And then you would have brought people in, as opposed to alienating the people who are going to be giving you the market share of, resources.
Well, and this comes down to the rub of it. These are people who became activists in college and then got into journalism to be political commentators, which is fine if that's what you want to do. But they couldn't get into political commentary. So they're doing political commentary in the gaming space because they feel like, as an activist, they need to change it to be more like them. Like, they want to be political commentators, and they're not, so they're doing it in the realm of video games. And essentially, you're scaring off the vast majority of people that would read your content.
Yeah, they're scaring them off, and they're sitting there looking around and going, "Why are we failing? We did this so that we could survive." It's like, no, you didn't. You did this because you're an activist, and because of your activism, you're actually flushing yourself down the toilet.
Anyway, it's not just me and Jace's podcast. Anyone else have comments on this so far?
Well, it's funny because earlier in the month we had talked about like Vice News and what was the other one that died?
Rooster
Vice
Teeth.
is the one I only cared about because the other one was like lady stuff, if I'm honest. But
Is it like BuzzFeed?
BuzzFeed, yeah,
Yeah.
BuzzFeed.
Lady stuff immediately
They kind of
silver
have,
mouse.
they chased kind of the same thing. Like they have the same problem where everything changed around it, and you know, I feel like video game coverage, like this kind of news stuff, has always been on the back foot. Because like the gaming world, the gaming community is inherently online and inherently communicate with each other through, well, now it's Discord and things like that, but like through forums and stuff like that. So once that became much more of a common thing, like video game publication has always been really hard. But it seems like they kind of stuck with that Vice News sort of obnoxious headline to try and get clicks sort of crap, and they never changed. And frankly, the Gamergate thing really hurt the credibility of most of these places. That people, I mean, there was people that were calling out that stuff before it even happened. So it's not surprising. I mean, it's just not surprising to me at all that this is happening. And honestly, other than certain access, I don't think it's going to be missed much at all.
It was
sadly.
derided before. Like, I was surprised with the
Yeah.
content that they were putting out that they still existed.
Yeah.
Can you imagine if an article like this popped up in the old Nintendo Power magazine?
Well, the editor wouldn't have let it happen, is the thing.
Nope.
Like, that's like they were like, "Excuse me, what? Nothing about Mario? No, not Mario being horny, just Mario. Just
Oh, what is
anything.
this
Okay.
trash?
Okay.
Well, to give you an
It
idea,
never would have gotten off.
so this gives you an idea of sort of what Kotaku was about. They were involved in the Gamergate 1 fiasco. This is the type of content they put out. For good or ill, you could agree with the political stances. That's fine. But this makes it a political activist website. These sorts of articles, what their intention. Like, I read you all the article, all these. Granted, I went and got the more sensational ones. And then I read you comments from the editor-in-chief and what her vision is for Kotaku and what she wants to do with it. And she'd worked there for something like 10 years. So this gives you an idea of what the intended content that they wanted to push out is. Well, August of last year, Patricia Hernandez, who wrote the PlayStation 5 review and that recent thing I read about what she wants Kotaku to be like, she resigns. Okay. And an individual by the name of Jen Glennon takes over. Okay. August of last year, she takes over. Recently, and we're talking this week, Jen quits. She leaves the company. And in a comment on her X, get X, it's no longer Twitter, people, on a comment on her X, some personal news, I've resigned from Kotaku, and Jim Spanfeller is a herb. I don't know what I don't know what a herb is. Okay. So the
I think they
new
use it in, like, Jersey. Something to mean like idiot, I believe I heard.
You're in on the Jersey slang. I forgot. I should have come.
I'm well
I should have come
traveled.
to you first. She's well traveled. She knows many things. So she quits.
Many things.
The editor-in-chief quits. And let's go over some of the reasons why she might have quit. Glennon started her role as Kotaku editor-in-chief in October 10th. However, she announced her resignation on X, saying some personal news, I've resigned from Kotaku and Jim Spanfeller is a herb. The later comment is a reference to a long-running insult aimed at Geo Media CEO Spanfeller, as detailed in a Slate article, blah, blah, blah. Aftermath received a copy of Glennon's resignation letter in which she told Spanfeller and Deputy Editorial Director Leah Goldman that she disagreed with the decision to focus the site's priorities on guides instead of news. After careful consideration, I've concluded that the current management structure and decision-making process at Geo Media are not aligned with my values and goals for Kotaku. I firmly believe that the decision is to invert Kotaku's editorial strategy to deprioritize prioritize news in favor of guides is fundamentally misguided given the current infrastructure of the site. This decision is directly contradicted by months of traffic data and shows an astonishing disregard for the livelihood of the remaining writers and editors who work there. Aftermath also reported that Kotaku's remaining staff are expected to write 50 guides a week for the site, and that its front page section previously dedicated to breaking and major news stories is now dedicated to tips and guides. Yeah. So apparently they were looking at things going, we need to stop with the political news commentary and start doing things that people read. Me and Ross talked earlier. Let's be honest. Most gamers, we're talking the majority, happen to be young men, and young men aren't reading news articles. Young men are looking on the internet for how to beat a boss, and that's probably what drags most of your traffic. That being said,
Yeah.
Kotaku being a very activist, political, news-oriented site, and it seems like drama's at the fan and people are fleeing because they don't like that they no longer get to use it as a soapbox for their ideology. And because they're changing it, because they know that it's not a good business model. They can't just give them money forever and then expect them to constantly have this platform that no one reads and doesn't, isn't revenue positive, so to speak. So yeah, Kotaku is destroying itself, and we're seeing it in real time, much like we saw with Rooster Teeth, much like we saw with BuzzFeed, much like we saw with everything else that we ever see. Reactions as people starting to quit, as apparently Kotaku is changing course.
The thing is that I could totally see them slipping things into their articles, like they're doing a rundown on how to beat a boss, and they're like, by the way, this boss is sexist, racist, whatever, as they're typing it out. Anyway, it doesn't surprise me that somebody at Kotaku is sitting there going, look, if we don't turn this boat around, we're going down. And the fact that people like the prior editor-in-chief and the new editor are jumping ship and not getting on board with this just speaks volumes as to why they actually got into this in the first place. They're not actually there to curate good articles for a gaming website. They're there, like you said, for activist reasons. And when something comes up and says, look, you can't be activist anymore, you have to make money for this site, they're like, see ya, I'm out of here. And then they're throwing insults at their bosses as they're walking out the door. It's like, okay, if you actually were, as you say, interested in the welfare of the writers who are still there at Kotaku, you do realize that Kotaku is circling the drain right now, and if you don't do something about it, they're going to be out of work. And when somebody actually tries to get you to do something about it, you just spit in their face and walk away. It's like, yeah, you're showing your true colors there. You're not actually there for the reasons that you're saying you're there for. You're not actually interested in the welfare of the writers that are there at Kotaku. If you were, you would have stuck around and you would have tried to turn this around yourself.
I want to be able to be paid to express my political views to people who disagree with me forever.
Yeah, you're in the wrong website, sweetie.
Ross, what's going on? Everything's collapsing. Long-running gaming-related and news-related stuff is all going away.
The way people consume news media has changed, I think, and frankly, I mean, it's like we were talking about, again, not to reference our old episode, but like about Vice and BuzzFeed. The algorithm even changed. The way that these online websites were getting traffic. I mean, the way you can't do it that way anymore and still get traffic. It's not useful anymore. So it's just it's just changed. Even the way, I don't know. Have you ever read like really old newspapers, especially not from like big cities, but from like medium-sized cities, compared to even
Yes.
the same newspaper like
I
50, 80 years later?
I had hundreds of sources for an extensive paper I wrote about the 1912 election and how it affected Utah. And a lot of them were local newspapers. So I did handle newspapers
if you look
like
at,
over 100 years old.
because there's some like legit articles in those, but then if you look at the rest of the newspaper, there's some real garbage in those papers.
Yeah.
And then if you look at those same paper, like just like, I mean, literally, it's just like the people. Oh, so and so went out on a wonderful night with his wife on the town. Like it literally like crap like that. And just 60 years later, if that, you can look at the same newspaper and it's much more professionally done. They had to change what people, people wanted something different. They didn't just want the rumor rag. And that these papers typically got more professional and got better article writing skills. Everything changes. And now, newspapers are having to go online or die, and have had to be for the last 30 years. It's just the same thing. Things just changed. Kotaku didn't, and BuzzFeed and Vice, they just didn't change quick enough, well enough, whatever. And so people
Or
are
refuse
moving on.
to.
It just happens. Something will take its place.
Silver, as someone who's not necessarily intimately into Kotaku and all the other drama going on, sort of somebody standing back outside of this who doesn't consume a lot of gaming news and media and whatnot, do you see a trend? Like what's your impression? Because this seems to be happening a lot.
Well, all these companies are going, of course, like in a political route and not what their websites were actually meant for. So no, everyone's giving up, pretty much. People who used to go there are like, they don't do the same stuff, so they don't come back anymore. And all of them are doing that, so they're not getting the same traffic to their websites they used to, and that's why they're going down.
Yeah, I mean, they weighing into
they're catering
things
to people who won't go on there.
Yeah. Well, when you get political, you immediately chop up your audience. You immediately scare off one side or the other because it's like, I don't want to hear about this constantly, sort of thing. And it's not surprising that people are reacting negatively to the content that's coming out of these websites and simply choosing not to patronize.
The minority of Godzilla cats is not being talked about, and I'm offended.
Oh my gosh. Well, I do have Godzilla related news.
Minority.
If we've exercised this discussion, I do have Godzilla related news if we want a news dump.
Yes, go ahead.
The Distracted Gamer Podcast's big steaming pile of news dump.
Ew.
Yay, it's the news segment, everybody. Yay. All right. Huzzah. Let me pull up the first. Oh, well, not what I wanted to do. It's difficult to do this stuff. I am going to put it up on the screen. Hopefully it'll show video. So Godzilla has become a Tokyo police officer.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's got an official piece of paper.
It's been so long. How you doing?
He's getting accolades where no one's caring about Silver Godzilla, but he's got a little sash on, and Tokyo is honoring Godzilla as a police officer. I hope to see him arrest individuals in the future.
that actually was one of the really cool things we saw when we were there in Tokyo. That building that had Godzilla on the side of it.
Yeah, the hotel. Yeah. On
Yeah.
certain hours, it will roar and steam will come out of its nose.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well,
in other
yeah,
news,
the hairballs come out, but you don't see me going, "Oh, how cool!"
oh,
Don't
I'm
see
so
me making a
fancy.
big deal out of it.
Why isn't anybody making me an honorary police officer? Or it did even say honorary, it just said police officer. So I assume actual police officer. And I expect to see Godzilla having a row with some drunk, businessman.
Expect him to wear like a little hat. Police
Yeah.
He's
hat.
got to have his
Yeah.
badge.
Maybe like a little traffic reflective shirt on.
Oh, those white gloves that people wear. Yeah. I want some Godzilla
Yes.
white gloves. Hey everybody, are we all psyched for Beetlejuice 2?
No.
No.
Somewhat.
I'm okay.
I saw the trailer today,
Yeah.
and I'm cautiously optimistic so far.
I love the original.
I mean,
I'm afraid of any
the-
new content they put out, but I'm cautious.
Yeah. The thing is I like I said, I saw the trailer today, and it's really short, and it really doesn't go into detail on anything, but it does show Beetlejuice, all the makeup and everything, and Lydia face to face, and I'm cautiously optimistic. I'm hoping that I mean, Michael Keaton is a great actor, and
well, my concern, because Michael Keaton
in the first Beetlejuice.
Michael Keaton was originally a comedian, and my concern is because he was young at the time when he did Beetlejuice, and he had a lot of energy, and I'm
you can tell that there's a difference.
Well, right, but it's like, is old Michael Keaton going to have the same energy as young Michael Keaton in the same role? Because Beetlejuice is a dynamic, energy, full.
And are they going to change this so that it's less of a comedy and more of a horror? You know what I mean?
I don't know.
The first one was a comedy horror, and it was great. It was amazing. The current one, who knows what they're going to do with it? I'm hoping they're going to stick with the comedy, with the horror twist, and just make it a delightful movie that just really brings Beetlejuice into now. The article that I saw it on, it said that Beetlejuice was 36 years ago, the original. So with the intervening 36 years, there's a lot of different writers and a lot of different viewpoints that I definitely don't want to see in the movie. So unfortunately, I think I'm like I said, I'm cautiously optimistic that this could be good, but we'll see going forward what new story information we get from new trailers and stuff, and whether or not I might want to go see it. Right now, I kind of do, but we'll see what happens in the future.
Ross, are you excited for Beetlejuice?
No, I don't. It's stupid. I'm not excited. It's going to be bad.
How about Happy Gilmore 2?
Oh no.
Yeah.
Listen. Hold on. Now listen. Adam
Shoot 'em
Sandler
again.
wanted to have another vacation with all of his friends, and so he had to make a movie for Netflix. What's the problem?
Well, he could have made another one of the, what is that?
You know what?
Vacation movie or whatever.
If that's how Adam Sandler wants to do movies, more power to him.
Listen, I'm
it's
all
basically
for
how
leeching
how
all the
he
money
gets
you can
his
out of Netflix for being idiots.
Well, he had that deal with Netflix where he was required to make so many movies, and he just did whatever.
Yeah. Pretty great.
So yeah, get excited for Happy Gilmore 2. Silver, are you excited for Happy Gilmore 2?
Super excited. I remember the first one exactly. Perfectly.
Well, I guarantee you your father made you see it.
Oh yes, I've seen it a couple times. No, I know the show.
See,
Want to
this
be a
is
hockey player. Yeah.
this is another movie that's banking on our nostalgia to go see it. Whether or not they can pull it off with the current writers and climate that we have right now, that's where it's like I'm cautiously optimistic because they have been able to do it. Top Gun Maverick is a good example of one where they're like, here we're taking a movie, we're creating a new sequel to it, and it did well because they
Well,
honored the legacy. But
how about
their current track
the
record
Crow
is
remake?
not so good.
How about the Crow remake
What was that?
how about the Crow remake with Pennywise? We all excited for the Crow remake?
No thanks.
Crow.
He's gonna
I
crow
wasn't
it up
very
with his
big on the
magical
Crow
powers.
to begin with. I did see it, but
Okay, so you've got baseline.
I didn't really think it was all
knowledge
that
of
was
the Crow.
cracked up to be.
Hey, how about
I don't care.
Mad Max Furiosa? Do we see a pattern where we're just either getting sequels or prequels?
It looks like
or
what they're doing
remakes?
is. It looks like what they're doing is they have no choice at this point. We don't trust them enough to go see the new stuff, and so they're resulting to try to bait us into going and see things because they need money and they're hoping that we're suckers.
How about the Roadhouse remake that's on Amazon right now? You hyped for that one?
No, not at all.
Hollywood is creatively bankrupt. They're incapable of making anything on their own. And so what they do is they take a hold of beloved IPs, they remake it, make it terrible, and then goad people in thinking, "Oh, I remember that. I liked that," when it didn't need to be remade because it was already good. But for some reason, they're incapable of making good content now, so they have to steal old content and then ruin it. And we're just getting lots of this is the era of remakes and sequels and repeat. This is the era of that. This is what we're getting. We're just going to see
there is something to be said about making a remake or making a sequel. When you have like Dune, for instance, Dune. You have so many more advancements in like CGI and filming and things that you can start bringing some of the
Jason,
you can start bringing some of that into the film.
Right,
Go for
but we're making a new movie based upon a book, even though we had a previous movie. We're not remaking the previous movie. We're making a new movie off of the book. These are all piggybacking on previous films.
Right. No, I was just pointing out the fact that no, there is. I was just pointing out the fact that because of the updates in cinematography, in computer generated images and whatnot, that some of these it does make sense to maybe go back and revisit, maybe update the graphics, update things, but they always go too far with those. They're like, while we're updating it, we see this, and this as problematic, and so we're going to get rid of it. And that it's like, okay, well, now you're making a new movie that's not the same as the old one. And I equate this to the new Avatar, The Last Airbender, where they're like, oh yeah, and we got rid of what's his name's sexism. And it's like, well, that was kind of it was a character flaw that he had, and through the course of the series, he worked on it and he overcame it, and that wasn't a problem later. And they're like, no, it's problematic, so we got to get rid of it. And so they're like, okay, so now you just made him boring rather than actually a character who had an internal flaw and became a better character. Okay. you guys don't understand how writing works, do you?
Well, regardless, getting back to the point at hand, we're getting a lot of remakes and sequels, and all this tells me is Hollywood has no ideas and they're not confident in any new stuff that they can make. They're just not. So they're ruining or rejiggering old IPs. And that's why we've got so much. We got Ghostbusters coming out. Well, it's out now. I'm going to see it next week. I have heard negative things. So get hyped for a movie that's probably not going to be very good. Well, I'll give it a chance. By all accounts, so we've had X-Men 97 now. I think we've had 2 episodes. I've heard some like it, some not. Mostly negative. Mostly negative opinions. So this is not shocking. We were all kind of expecting it to not be good. This is what I'm hearing. This isn't my actual opinion. If you like it, that's fine, because I haven't seen it, because it doesn't look like something I'm going to want to watch. Maybe we could force Ross to watch it and then just be our X-Men 97 reviewer as it ruins his childhood.
No, I'm not doing that.
Do it.
No, I've already agreed to watch that Fallout show. I'm not watching X-Men 97.
It's Women's History Month, and Silver gets to tell you what to do.
History.
Exactly.
Well, she can watch it. I'm not watching it. She probably got the Disney Plus. I ain't got that.
You misogynist.
No, I don't have it. Not
I
anymore.
ain't got no Disney Plus. I ain't giving them any more of my money.
I have access.
Disney Plus, maybe.
All right, Jason.
Well,
by
Jason,
law.
by law,
By
they're probably
law
not
of
long.
Women's History Month.
You know, I
I'll
just have to
afford
wait
you.
until the end of next week, and then it's no longer Women's
Oh, no.
History Month, and the
Well,
laws
no,
are
but
in effect.
So, any decrees she makes right now are eternal, and so it is written, so shall it be done. So if she says you have to watch X-Men 97, you have to keep watching it and then tell us how bad it is.
Have fun with that.
Well, I'm just watching the trailer for it on YouTube, and if this is the animation that's going to be going into the rest of the show, wow, just this is awful. This isn't even as good as the original X-Men animation.
Hey, guess what, everybody? At the Game Designer Conference, a bunch of people got together and screamed in unison in a powerful display of of defiance against hate and Gamergate 2.0.
So powerful.
These are all game developers at the gaming conference, standing outside, like 50 of them in the park, screaming in defiance of Gamergate. Do you think this is gonna help?
That'll fix it?
That'll fix it. There's some misogynist racist out there sitting at his computer, and he's like, I better not. They screamed. They screamed at the heavens.
I know. Just look at how powerful they look, all standing around.
So powerful.
So powerful.
Reading the article today, over 50 game developers met in a park across the street from Moscone Center, where the annual Game Developers Conference was taking place. They had one objective: to scream as loud as possible. The event, known as GD Scream, took place in an open area in the middle of Yerba Buena Gardens, where event organizers assembled a crowd by holding up pieces of paper with Scream scribbled on them, high quality when you just printed Scream on a piece of paper. One of the organizers wore a shirt printed with Munches the Scream. Another participant wore a shirt printed with an ice cream cone. Why is that relevant, IGN? At exactly noon, the cluster of individuals from all corners of game development let loose a loud scream that lasted for several seconds. As it trailed off, the group broke into relieved laughter and applause before slowly dispersing. Have we fixed misogyny? Did we resolve Gamergate 2.0 for all of time?
Yes.
I think it's solved. I think we nailed it.
All we needed to do was scream, and that just fixed everything.
We all
Silver, is it
screamed
over?
and laughed and walked away. Fix everything.
This is really
Ladies and gentlemen,
stupid.
We got him.
We did it.
Wow.
Everybody, we accomplished the unaccomplishable.
I'm so proud of everyone involved.
Speaking of what our discussion was last week, when we were talking about when it comes to liability and what responsibility websites have and streaming services have and whatnot, apparently a judge has ruled that YouTube, Facebook, and Reddit must face lawsuits claiming they helped radicalize a mass shooter. This is an interesting direction. Yeah. This is an interesting direction because they're apparently claiming that these websites have liability when it comes to the content that's produced, which look, if they win these lawsuits, and I'm not saying that they will, but basically the judge said that the lawsuits can go forward. If they win these lawsuits, then it'll establish a precedent that they are essentially a publisher, and therefore YouTube is responsible for all content that's put on their platform.
Which means that they're going to start cracking down on everything.
Oh,
and
yeah.
You're not going to be able to publish things anymore.
Well,
they're going to have to check
it'll
every
kill
last thing.
Well, no, Jason, it'll just kill YouTube. That's what's going to happen.
Oh, yeah.
YouTube won't survive. They already don't earn money off of it. Believe it or not, YouTube
what
is
I was
drain.
meaning is that YouTube will they'll shut YouTube down because of this. Because there's no way that YouTube will be able to vet every single thing that gets published through their website. There's no way that they have enough manpower or computing power to do that. And because of that, they'll just say, okay, look, if that's what you're going to do here, then YouTube is going to go away, and it'll go away.
I mean, that would be good
Reddit,
for
same with everything else.
That would be good for Hollywood because Hollywood genuinely recognizes that they're in competition with like amateur YouTube videos, because people are watching YouTube videos more than they're actually watching Hollywood content like movies and streaming. Just to read this a little bit, the court determined that the complaint sufficiently pleads viable cause of action to go forward at this stage in the litigation. In her decision, the judge said the plaintiffs may proceed with their lawsuit, which claims social media companies like Meta, Alphabet, Reddit, and 4chan profit from the racist, anti-Semitic, and violent material displayed in their platforms to maximize user engagement. On top of this, this is implying that anyone that expresses opinions that others might deem to be racist, sexist, anti-Semitic, or violent are going to be subject to liability because it's allowed to be seen on stuff. Like literally free speech, at least in this country, is universal insofar as you don't incite violence or display stuff that's illegal, like child diddling and whatnot. So this is also this is also challenging First Amendment stuff as well.
Right. The thing is that I can go in and I can say something off the wall like, cats are really what is controlling the decisions made. The cats are really what's controlling the decisions that are made in Washington. Cats have us so bamboozled that we think that there are pets, and they're
this
actually
is an awful example.
The ruling force. Oh yeah, it is.
What did you know?
How did you know?
It's a really awful example. The thing is that I can totally say that. But the thing is that no one should actually believe that. Everybody should look at me and say, "Look, what? You're a fool. You're an idiot. Go away." And just because I said that doesn't mean that there is any reason behind that to believe it.
Well, right, but we're talking about liability with these companies. I don't think a lawsuit like this is going to win, but it calls into question stuff we talked about last week and whether or not these companies are responsible.
Yeah. The thing is that if this goes through and they actually do win, and somehow YouTube is still up afterwards, basically we will be the only thing we will be able to publish are like the sky is blue, the grass is green, and we probably won't even be able to do that because somebody will come out and say it's not green all the time or it's not blue all the time, and because of that, you'll have a strike against your video, and your video is gone.
Well, right.
You won't be able to express your opinion on anything because somebody could take it as offensive.
Once again, this circles back to, are these utilities seen as like a public space? Because if it's a public space, all dialogue needs to be permitted. And if it's not a public space, if it's not treated like utility and regulated like utility, and it's a publisher, then all liability is due to these companies for being irresponsible and allowing stuff to go forward onto their platform. Obviously, this could have, I don't expect it's going to win in any regard, but it's an interesting development. Ross, do you have anything to think on this? Ross is not here with us. Maybe it's to make it a tinkle. Do you have any comment on this?
No, I don't. It's dumb all the way around. It's just trying to shift blame from a guy who's mentally unwell or just a raging asshole onto social media companies. It's ridiculous.
You're not wrong.
And the fact that this was even entertained is crazy.
Yeah. Thoughts from a woman's perspective? Teach us how to view the world.
Nothing different other than it's just like, yeah, it's stupid.
She has spoken.
Also, how did you know about the cat uprising in Washington?
It just makes sense. I mean, come on, think about it. Educate yourself.
Sheeple.
How did this get past the council?
Look into it, sheeple. Let's see. I'm going to pull up a new article as it takes some time because it's coming from Japan. Silver will be happy about this. So apparently, Your Name producer rearrested on charges including child prostitution.
Oh no!
Oh no!
Oh no! Oh! Uh-oh!
On the 22nd, Wakayama Prefectural Police Juvenile Division and other authorities charged with Koichiro Ito, 52, who runs a production company of Shibuya Ward, Tokyo, and violating the act of child prostitution and pornography for allegedly giving cash to a girl who was a junior high school student and having sex with her. She was rearrested on suspicion of prostitution and production of child pornography. This is the third arrest, according to investigators. Ito was involved in production of a movie, Your Name, as well as a bunch of other content. I think Your Name, as well as Weathering with You, I think Fireworks, the other one, like a bunch. And here's the funny thing. Your Name is the one beloved by girls. Like, girls love Your Name. So I'm not saying it taints the movie, but oh no. Oh no.
Yeah. It feels like the time the Rurouni Kenshin author.
Yeah.
He was arrested for the same thing, I believe. And I'm like, oh.
Yeah,
Oh,
child
no.
stuff.
Oh. That's a bummer.
In reflecting on the X-Men 97, apparently Hollywood director argues that X-Men 97 chose to adapt the trial of Magneto in order to take a swing at the MAGA crowd. What?
Let's make this political right off the bat.
MAGA, Jason. MAGA. But as a direct commentary on the MAGA crowd and the January 6th insurrectionists. Let's talk about that with our new X-Men show and make a lot of people go, oh, I don't want to watch that. You psyched about
I'll have to watch it, though.
Yeah, Jason has to watch it though.
Already we're getting off to a great start with this one. Let me tell you, just that article made me want to jump into this even more. After I saw the trailer, I was like, I'm on the edge here because this actually looks worse than the actual one that was in the 90s. And now I'm hearing that they're going after MAGA and the insurrectionists, totally count me in.
Well, why do you have to
Glad
directly
you're
make
excited.
it political? Yeah. Larian, the developer of the highly successful Baldur's Gate 3, decided not to do a DLC because they're worn out, and they said that they are likely not going to do the next one, that they have no interest in doing 4. So they're done.
So they're not doing a Baldur's Gate 4, they're stopping? Huh.
Well, they're not going to do it. Somebody else is.
Interesting.
Oh,
But
yeah.
They've pretty much 100% stepped away, and they're like, yeah, we're done. Well, we're just not going to do the new one.
This is like a mic drop moment for them. Like, they released Baldur's Gate to critical and fan acclaim, and now they're just like, yeah, we're done, and just walking away.
They sounded like it exhausted them, and they're just not. They're not interested in dragging through again. They're like, we did it.
It's a bummer that they won't do DLC, but I get it. Like that's fair.
Well, the article I brought it up briefly. The article, he flat out says he brought up to his team that they weren't going to do the DLC, even though they were planning on it. And the team, instead of being upset, they were elated. They're like, "Oh, thankfully, that we don't have to do the DLC."
Yeah.
That's so funny.
What were you going to say there, Jason?
That does surprise me. I mean, not necessarily that they're canceling the DLC or how elated the team is, but it's like they've already got a hit video game on their hands, and they're probably raking in the dough right now. But the fact that they're not willing to follow it up is somewhat surprising.
They just sound like they're done.
Yeah, no, I get it. I get it. I just it's surprising to me that they were willing to make that decision at this point. That they're like, you know what? We don't need to do this. We're where we want to be. We're going out on a high note. We'll look for something else that we can put together that's maybe not as demanding of our time and efforts. That's the way we're going to go with this. And I was like, well, I mean, more power to them. This seems like a good decision on their part, because you don't want your developers and stuff to be burned out when this is what they're supposed to do. And if your developers are sitting there going, I got to get out of here, I'm gone, or I'm going to be toast. Yeah, that's a bad situation to be in. This, to me, shows that this is a video game company that's, one, worth following to see what they do in the future, and two, it's a video game company that's worth working at, because they're actually interested in the well-being of their employees, rather than, hey, you code monkeys, keep churning out the hits. It's no, we've achieved what we want to do. We don't feel any pressure to go on with this. We're done. But it still is somewhat surprising to me that they actually were willing to make this decision.
I mean, I don't blame them. Just say no. They're like, no, we're done with it.
No.
Yeah.
Oh no, I forgot.
How could you?
yay!
Well, it is her month. How do I find absolution? Oh no, it's my fault. Ross, you were going to say something.
It's Val.
Ah.
No, Ross wasn't going to say something. Dragon's Dogma 2 came out.
No,
Is
just
everybody
that's what I was
hyped?
going to say.
Oh, okay. Dragon's Dogma 2 came out. Did everybody rush to get Dragon's Dogma 2?
No, what are they making people pay for now? There's some dumb
Well, so
microtransaction thing.
there's a bunch of drama with the game. I found a list somebody put on Reddit addressing a bunch of the so-called misinformation sort of thing. So number one, yes, Dragon's Dogma 2 suffers from poor performance. This is especially true for the PC version. Players are reporting crashes, stuttering, fluctuating frame rates, particularly in high population areas. By the way, Ziberian was who put this together. This is caused by CPU bottleneck that are several home remedy fixes that alleviated some problems for people. Capcom has stated that they are working on improvements, but no concrete information beyond that. Console version of Dragon's Dogma 2 are much more stable. No crashes or graphical issues to report for the vast majority. The frame rate still dips in high population zones. Number 2, yes, Dragon's Dogma 2 released with microtransactions. This comes in the form of sub-currency, a revive item, and extra fast travel items. What's that?
I was just going to say, I added an article there at the end of the
we can
talk about this if we get to it. But this applies to Dragon's Dogma 2. The article was talking about how it's buggy, and that it was the person who wrote the article was comparing it to the. Okay,
let me
go ahead.
Bring it
go
up.
ahead.
And why don't you?
So
I'm going to bring it up, and then why don't you address
the first
it?
Dragon's Dogma, and how Dragon's Dogma, the first one, you would think that you would get kind of an update with the second one, where it's like the first one was a buggy mess apparently, and the second one, and he in the article, the author mentioned that it's kind of surprising that it even got a sequel because of what a buggy mess it was to begin with. And the author was like, it's still a buggy mess, but, and this was one of the things I really liked about the comment here, was that he said this was still fun, which is something that he wishes that he could apply to more of the current video game crop. Is that regardless of the bugs, regardless of the difficulties that people have been having with it, he has been having an enjoyable time with Dragon's Dogma 2. So I thought that was interesting.
Nice. Yeah, the microtransactions is mostly what people are upset about. There's a single save file. There's a single save file, and a lack of fast travel options are deliberate designed decisions.
Yeah.
They were a part of the first Dragon's Dogma game, but apparently you could buy through microtransactions extra fast travel items. So apparently you can buy stuff that makes the game easier.
Oh god, this is a Capcom game, isn't it?
Yeah, you can buy a ticket that helps you respec your character. And everything on the microtransaction list can be acquired in the game within the first 2 hours. There's no prompting or even mention of microtransactions in the game where it's managed. Yeah, well, the problem is when you, right out the gate, start offering pay to not necessarily win, but pay to make it easier to play your game, people are going to cause a hissy fit.
Yeah.
And this is not unexpected.
The thing, I don't have a problem with like microtransactions for cosmetic things where it's like, I want this shirt in the game, or I want this look, and so I'm going to go and I'm going to buy these certain things. I have a problem when it's pay to win. When you have an easier time playing the game and you can get farther, you can progress more, but in order to do that, you have to shell out. And it's like, I've already shelled out, and Dragon's Dogma is approaching the $70 mark. It's like $69.99, so it's pretty much $70. It's $70 for the game, and then on top of that, you want to nickel and dime me to death here? No, I'm gonna, and regardless of that author and his opinion and the fact that he thought the game was fun, I'm gonna give it a miss because I don't do that. It's like, I've already paid a buttload of money for your game. Why should I pay you more? Now, like I said, if it's cosmetic items, I don't mind, because I don't have to have those cosmetic items. And if somebody wants to pay more to have a particular look for their character, they can go for it. But it's that whole pay to win. I hate that scenario, and no, it should be gone. Any game that has that in it should be ignored to oblivion, and any developer that is like, we've got to have a pay to win model, we should be rioting in front of their their studios and demanding our money back.
Sweet. So there's been some controversy with somebody that me and Ross are aware of. So Ross, apparently Capcom sent old Patrick Boyven an early copy who gave it glowing reviews and didn't mention microtransactions at all and kind of shield for the game, and people are crapping on him because of it. And he is now center of a lot of Dragon's Dogma hate because he was kind of a shield for it.
Oh, that is amazing.
Yeah. I don't know if he took money, but yeah, apparently Patrick's receiving a crap storm. It's exciting. It's super exciting.
That's a whoopsie.
Well, yeah, he's a whoopsie person. His life is a whoopsie. Here's an article that's been floating around that we haven't brought up yet that Jason threw up on here. Apparently, Microsoft has figured out the cause of the Red Ring of Death.
Go for it.
You haven't felt fear until you see the Red Ring of Death. Sonic running out of oxygen doesn't come close. Trust me, that's not true. Not only did we live day-to-day wondering when the Red Ring would strike, but we also had no clue what caused it. The Series SSX is free from the omen of doom, much to the delight of fans who have come. I thought it was overheating. Let's see. The problem wasn't that the console got too hot, but rather it got extremely hot and then quickly cooled down. That strain on its internal system resulted in Red Ring of Death. Feels like a problem we should have been made aware of when it was relevant, say, when the Xbox 360 was in its heyday. I don't know about Silver, but I think we all had Red Ring of Death issues.
I didn't have that.
I
but
got twice.
I got my Xbox 360 later. And they'd kind of worked out what was causing the Red Ring of Death, and so I avoided that one. But yeah.
Sweet.
Yeah,
By the way, I
great.
did. I think twice. Jason was there when I was having problems.
Yeah, it happened to me twice. My friend, when I got my 360 that year for Christmas, he even bought me a cooler, like that you attach via the power port to an extra fan. Turns out it wouldn't have helped anyway, but whatever.
Well, it kind of makes sense if you heat something and then quickly cool it, you make it brittle, especially metals.
Yeah.
So that would explain why it was causing problems. Yeah. It cannot be understated how big a problem it was for the 360. Despite the 360's success, everybody was running into this issue. Practically everybody. By the way, and I don't remember where it was from. I think it was Forbes that reported on it. But a few movies have been canceled by Disney. The Eternals 2, Ant-Man 4, Captain Marvel 3. Are we all upset? I think they also canceled the Captain America and the Winter Soldier series season 2. I think that was canceled as well.
God.
So it looks like everybody's saying these movies are doing well. If they were doing well, we would be demanding a new one. Ant-Man 3 was awful. It was terrible. Never saw the Eternals. I heard bad things. Never saw it. I'm sure Silver saw it because she sees all form of crap.
Val sees everything.
I did see that one. It was just meh.
I saw it, yeah.
It was one of those ones where the good guy turns out to be a bad guy. And it's like, I thought we were here to see the good guys, triumph over the bad guys. I mean, you have to do the twist in the right way, and this, it just wasn't done the right way, and so it ended up being pretty boring.
Silver liked it. Women's Month.
No. I'll never watch that again.
Well, Captain America 3 or Captain Marvel 3, are we going to all be upset? You're the one.
No.
You're the only one of us that has seen the
No,
other
wait,
Captain
okay.
Marvels.
Ugh.
As a
They're so
woman,
bad.
as a woman, how do you feel about female representation in Marvel? As a lady,
And how good is it? How on a
They
scale
suck
of
at it.
10 to oh.
If they're in the negatives, they're
Hmm.
did you like
Somebody had a
when
little
Lone?
internalized misogyny.
Yeah. Did you like when Dark Helmet was going to steal the oxygen from the thespians or whatever they are, and Lone Star style? Oh, that's a different movie.
Baseballs is such an awesome movie.
Yeah, they thought so too. That's why they copied it.
That's
Unfortunately, they left
stealing
out the humor.
resources.
unfortunately
the-
they left out the part that it was not good.
No good.
That's
New.
no good, everybody. I had more stuff, but I figured you guys would be a lot more engaging. Ross seems checked out.
I just whenever we get into the stuff about the mass shooter, I'm sorry, I did check out on that one because it's very blatantly ridiculous.
Yeah. Well, try not to take responsibility for. Well, and especially
Yeah, it
when
just
you
gets
care a lot
irritating that we're just allowing
personally
this to
about gun
happen.
rights.
Hmm.
So
You could
so
see
does-
his
so
faith
does-
in humanity go down from the beginning to end of this episode.
I'm giving up, everybody. No, that's fine. Yeah. I mean, there was a movie. There's something that was supposed to be coming out here soon that's been pushed back a year. I can't remember what it was. I know Snow White's been pushed back, as per the article that
Yeah.
Jason has saved here.
Which is amazing. Of course it has.
Well, the speculation is they're probably
Someday
doing all the
that'll come out. It'll
CG.
probably come out 2 years after it was made.
Well, they're probably
It
doing all of the
wouldn't surprise
CG
me-
for the Seven Dwarves that they weren't going to put in it. You know, because it was
It would
basically
not surprise
seven
me
baristas.
in any way, shape, or form if they just canceled it altogether.
Oh yeah. Expect
would
them
be
to burn
amazing.
whatever's left.
Because there's
Yeah.
been so much media about it. Because at least with the Batgirl movie that WB canceled, at least there wasn't a ton of media about it. But there had been so much. If they do end up canceling that Snow White movie, that'll be hilarious. Because there's been so much media about it on their end.
Yeah.
I think Captain America might have been pushed back. Maybe that was the one I was thinking of.
Oh, good lord.
Yeah. Well, apparently though.
Well, we all know what's really going to save the MCU.
It'll save. This is and if you don't like it, you misogynist prig.
Well,
If you're
it's
not
the
a fan.
Muppets. The Muppets will save the MCU.
The Muppets. Well, yeah, I forgot about that. That's the true crossover. Whose video was that? Stuckman?
No, that wasn't Stuckman. That was just some. I can't remember. Some guy. Someone I don't ever watch. I may have seen his name a couple times, but yeah. it
Well,
was so funny.
somebody made a serious attempt at saying that it was like the 5 things or whatever that will fix the MCU, and one of them was a crossover between the Muppets and the and Marvel, and I was
That
like,
would be
how is this a
amazing.
serious? How is this a serious point to be made?
There have been some rumblings about Labyrinth 2.
Oh no!
Recently.
But David Bowie's dead. Let it be.
Yeah.
Monsters.
Well, they did the series that didn't do well. You remember that series? You know what I'm gonna do?
Nobody
Since
does.
we're here, and I was gonna pull it up, but I didn't. Let me. I'm going to go over IGN's top 10 remotes We're not going to have audio, but I'm going to skip through. Get hyped. Number 10 is the Wiimote.
Yeah. I love these kind. Yes.
So what do you think? Top 10?
Now
Legitimate?
this is podcasting.
Now this is podcasting. Does it deserve to be in a top 10?
Let's see.
It's good and bad.
Super
it has
Nintendo's
problems
gonna
and
be
it's.
on there.
Well, you hope. Did
the
you
one
like
I
the
want to be
Wiimote?
on there that Rhett would hate, it's going to be the GameCube.
That would be number 1 because of all the flipping.
It's just to annoy Rhett.
Number 1.
Yeah.
Number 1.
Number 1. Wiimote's number 10. Does it even deserve to be in the top 10, or are we, bottom of the barrel here?
I mean, it was very I don't know, like it was kind of groundbreaking, I guess. Like it was the first time a very like a big popular system had like controls like that. So
I like the innovative idea of having it sit sideways so that you could play it like a normal NES remote, despite being uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Um,
Despite like holding onto a 2x4.
Yeah. And how about number 9, the SNES controller? This should be top 3. And this is coming from somebody who doesn't own a SNES. Well, I do own a SNES now, but didn't own when I was growing up. It's probably peak old school controller. It's the most comfortable. It's the most reliable. The buttons are clicky in the right way. The X and Y are concave. The A and B are convex. Yeah, I mean it's probably peak controller, and it's shocking it's at number 9. It's shocking.
At least it's on there.
Well, yeah, but that'll make you go, well,
I'm
what's
just
going to
saying,
be better?
If the NES controller is ahead of it, I'm gonna laugh my ass off.
Well, you're gonna, because it's
stupid.
probably gonna be. Well, how about we shift to the Nintendo Wavebird? Excuse me? At number 8?
The wireless. Yeah.
At number 8, the wireless Wavebird.
It was a very good wireless controller.
The GameCube controller sucks anyway, and the wireless clonky thing. Yes, it does.
No, it's not clonky.
It's okay to be wrong,
Dude, I'm
Ross.
telling you, that's a very good wireless controller. That shouldn't be higher than the Super Nintendo, but
no, it shouldn't. Opinions on this, Jason, so far?
I never played the GameCube, so
what?
No,
never played it.
Oh.
Xbox controller.
Well, this is just wrong.
It just says it says Xbox, but it shows
Which
the
one?
Duke, the 360.
Which one?
Yeah, I don't know.
Because the 360 should not be that high up.
No, the 360 is not a
adore
great controller.
His 360.
The D-pad is one of the worst things
should not
ever
be that high up.
invented.
Yeah, like there are other better Xbox controllers than the 360.
Yeah, so let's assume it's the 360. The D-pads suck, and the joysticks are not that great. They're not comfortable. The shape
they're
is
okay.
fine.
They wear out really fast. They get smooth.
They do
really
wear out.
Quick.
They wear out really fast, and so do the springs inside that keep them centered.
Yeah. I will say, after now using, like, even back in the day, if you used a wired 360 controller compared to the wireless, and especially now comparing it to the Series X and the Xbox One controllers, the bulbous battery pack in the middle of it is a real bummer comparatively.
And it's a little awkward in the way.
Or the wired version back then. Yeah, it's just, it really, like, it makes your fingers have to sit in that little canal that it creates.
Well, how about number 6, the Switch Pro controller?
It's an Xbox controller. Who cares?
Yeah, it's an Xbox controller. It's comfortable, and by the way, the D-pad has problems notoriously. I don't know if they fixed it in newer models. It's a comfortable controller. It's really well designed. It's too expensive. Like when you go to buy, let's say, a modern controller, you're getting like $50-$60. I think the Switch controller is like $70.
What?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really expensive.
Oh God.
And it's just an Xbox
No, Nintendo
controller,
never.
So, yeah, well, Nintendo.
Yeah, it's just controller.
Yeah, it's an Xbox. It's a good controller. It's really good. But pro
It better
controller.
be for $70.
How about the PS5 DualSense? As far as the PlayStation controllers are concerned, this is the best one, in my opinion. I have problems.
How come they
with the
got real
PlayStation
specific
controllers.
with the Sony stuff, but not the Xbox stuff? What's that about?
I don't know. Because it's like 360 should be lower, but Xbox, like Series X, should be top as far as like the epitome evolution of controllers. I'm actually shocked the PlayStation 5 controller
I've not
is
used
this
it.
low.
I like the ideas behind a lot of the PS5 controller, though.
They're very comfortable. I quite like it. It's the peak of PlayStation controller, and I'm not a fan of PlayStation controllers. Yeah,
Too small.
the DualSense. How about number 4, the DualShock? Suck it. And they keep showing the PS4 version. Like, what is it? Is the DualShock the PS3 or is it the PS4 version? The PS5 version is better than the PS4 version of this controller. What a terrible list, IGN. What a butt awful list.
Those controllers just feel so unnatural.
Well, because you have to turn your thumbs inward.
The PS3,
yeah.
the PS3 and a little bit of the PS4 controllers feel goddamn cheap. I'm sorry. I realize I sound like a bit of a Microsoft fanboy, but the PS2 controllers were better.
How about number 2, the Astro C40 TR?
Oh, yes, for the renowned Astro game console, right?
Yeah.
This one?
You never played that one? Come on.
Yeah, this list sucks. And then the Xbox Elite.
The Astro Boy game.
Yeah, this list sucks. IGN, you're terrible at this.
It's not great, I'm gonna be honest.
Well, I had found another one, but I can't remember what it is. So we're gonna go over top 10 video game controllers from somebody else because IGN sucks at making lists. The Wii U gamepad is number 10.
Those are fun.
The Wii U gamepad is number 10.
What year was it made? Hold on.
This is 9 years old.
Like an 8-year-old video?
The 9-year-old.
Oh,
yeah.
Well, that makes a little more sense.
It's uncomfortable. It's heavy. It has a limited battery life, but apparently it's one of the best controllers ever made.
It's so good.
It's so good. Okay, number
so
9.
Good.
The Wii U Pro. Yeah, I mean Xbox controller. Just copy the 360 design. So good. Number 9 is the Wii U
But this one
Pro.
doesn't. This is like the inverse. It's the Xbox body with the inverse of the Sony, where it's got both the joysticks up top, whereas the Xbox has a staggered layout.
They do.
What a weird controller.
It's an odd controller.
Boy,
How
I
about
just bought a Wii U when he made this.
Nintendo GameCube is number 8.
Do you think this guy has a bias towards a particular company, or?
I think he might. Yeah.
Listen, I unlike Rhett, love me some GameCube controller. But 3 Nintendo products in a row, two of them from the same console, seems a little iffy.
They're stacking it at the back end too, so expect those to Nintendo love to go away. It tried to continue with certain buttons that the 64 controller had, like the C button, but it was kind of a joystick. So it's not a good button, and it's like not a good joystick. Yeah, and the Z bumper, you get one right bumper. It's just odd.
Mm-hmm.
It's got problems. 64 is above the
64. No. There's half a good controller in it somewhere, but
well, here's from someone who
thing.
loves. I love the 64 controller. I think it's comfortable and I have bigger hands, but its joystick sucks. Like it's got problems.
The joystick sucks. It doesn't need its third leg hanging off the other side. You could have condensed it into one actual controller, not some
I want
horrible
mutants.
elephant-faced freak.
No, I like mutation in my controller. I want to know that my controller fell in a vat of toxic chemicals and either could have become a crime-fighting turtle or became an awkward controller for Nintendo. And we got the awkward controller for Nintendo.
It fell into ooze, into 80s nuclear waste ooze.
Into the ooze. Oh man, 64 controller.
That's how we got that controller.
Wii Remote Plus. So it's the Wiimote, but the motion sensor is better. This is better than the GameCube and the 3.
Nintendo show.
Well, it doesn't say top 10 Nintendo controllers. It says top 10 video game controllers.
Of which Nintendo's the only thing that matters. Hey,
This is
listen,
just the
I
Wii
agree. The
controller.
Wii remote should be on there. It's very innovative.
Yeah.
You know. But boy, well represented at Nintendo.
Yeah, PlayStation DualShock 2. I
Hey,
hate the
there we
DualShock
go.
2.
Now we're getting something that works.
Yeah, I hate the DualShock 2. It's awkward to hold. And obviously this is biased because of my hands, because I got bigger hands. And it's awkward to hold it, because then I have to rotate my thumbs inward to push on the joysticks. And the staggered joystick position on the Xbox controllers was always preferred to me. Yeah, it's not.
But I will say, compared to the PS3 controllers, it at least doesn't feel like it's going to fall apart in your hand.
That's true. 360. Yeah, it's got the. I have problems with the 360 controller.
Yeah, the battery hunchback is not great.
This version is the cabled version that the guy's holding. It doesn't have the battery in the back.
It's the most comfortable version. It's just, this was in a time when wireless was super cool.
Also
Whoa!
running out of batteries.
We did that a lot.
Whoa.
We ate a lot of AA batteries, and we went, whoa, it's wireless. We did that a lot.
Well, apparently number one is the SNES. So we're missing the NES. We're missing a bunch of other controllers.
I just love that everything has been Nintendo in this, except for like 3.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah, there's no Sega. There's no Sega Genesis controller. There's no Dreamcast.
Which, listen.
There's no OG Xbox. They're missing quite a few things, actually.
So, in about Sega, I totally, as someone who loves and loved the Genesis, we had a Genesis, and Sega does what Nintendo don't in my household. But the buttons on the Genesis controller are real mushy. They're real mushy. And the NES controller is a brick. It's, not in any way ergonomic, and it kind of blows.
Yeah, it's the best controller at the time. It works, it's reliable, it feels fine, despite the fact it has sharp corners and can cut your hand. It's perfectly fine. And at the time, it's probably the best controller ever made, but there were better evolutions as far as OG controllers. The SNES controller is probably the peak of the OG controllers. What would be your favorite controller? All of you, like from the top of your head, just overall your favorite.
The current Xbox controller.
Current evolution.
That's my favorite.
It's the most comfortable.
Yeah.
Ross?
Ooh.
You gonna say something controversial?
Boy, that's hard. Well, I was going to be a dick and say the GameCube, but
that's not.
I really love the way they feel. It's not my favorite, but I genuinely do think they were great. I think they're of their time. It has the problem that the Dreamcast has, in that it only has the one like actual joystick. I mean, yeah, I guess the C-stick kind of counts, but boy, it's real terrible for a joystick. Honestly, I love me some OG Xbox. both the Duke and
Ooh.
the S version. I think
I'm
they're
a Duke
great.
fan.
Um,
I'm a Duke fan. My Duke controller
I've
doesn't
become a
work.
Duke fan.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I wish
like
I
I
had
have
my
a
Duke.
modern wired version of the Duke that I can use now. And because you got to remember when the Xbox came out, I was like 12, so like I wasn't quite the size I am now, so it didn't fit my hands. But as I've gotten older, I can appreciate the Duke a lot more. I think it was a pretty comfy controller.
You know, we used to
I
call it
also
the
like the
hamburger because it was so big and fatty.
mhm.
Anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, and I like. Do you remember how the different? This is very Halo oriented too, if you think about it. But when you look at it, the joystick that like does your looking has kind of like a crosshair on it, and it's like raised differently than the one that you did move with, because like that was the
Yeah.
one that you click to zoom in on and look with. I don't know. I love that. I think that's great. But yeah, probably the OG Xbox.
Silver.
Series X.
Oh. It's probably the most comfortable,
Feels
the
really nice.
best evolution. Well, it's funny. Every time there's a new PlayStation controller, they make this big design jump. Well, not necessarily. Basically, DualShock 2 from PlayStation 1, 3, 4 slightly more comfortable, 5 finally evolved to be even more comfortable. Whereas the Xbox, it's like they made evolutions, but they finally found the one that works. And then they didn't have to make a big leap from Xbox One to Xbox Series X because it's comfortable. It feels
So,
like
just
clicky.
thinking back. So when I was younger, my dad got us an Atari 2600. That was the first one, and that's
Playing with the
the only
dinosaurs.
controller that I used until we got the original NES. And the original NES was a step forward from the joysticks and stuff that we were using in the 2600. It just thinking back through the ones that I've held and stuff, it was always like they were always looking for this controller. You know what I mean? And so the one that we have now, it's like that's the one that we use because of all the evolution, and that's the one I like the best. And I'm pretty sure that the next evolution forward, well, I can't say pretty sure, but I'm hoping that the next evolution forward will be my next favorite. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's the hope. No, I'm surprised no one's gonna say the Atari Jaguar with the keypad. But you know, do you? I only knew one person.
And you
who
know what I
had an
should have
Atari
said
Jaguar.
is the Sega Saturn Discus controller.
The disc control, yeah, with the joystick on it.
Saucer, yeah.
Yeah.
That's I put pictures in the chat, the general chat, by the way. But I should have said that. Been a real a-hole.
Oh my gosh.
Obviously there are better iterations, but Dreamcast with the little screen, little screen on the Dreamcast.
VMU, baby.
Yeah, I could play Tamagotchi
And
on my VMU.
because of the VMU thing, they had to have the cord come out the wrong direction.
Well, and they
makes
added
it
that
even
little
shorter.
groove, so you had to push it into the groove on the top.
Yeah.
So it came out. Yeah. The fishing controller. We should have a big controller conversation, but we've probably run our time. Silver, I'm sorry to take over a little bit. And anything else you want to talk about?
Wow, such a man thing to do. Way to mansplain the podcast to her, Red.
I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
how dare you throughout this entire thing, mansplain
I've
these
internalized
articles to
misogyny.
me.
Internalized. I think that's
internalized. It's purely external. I see it.
I have ingrained misogyny. It's a part of me. Silver, it's all you. This is your podcast. We're just here to praise you and talk about women. Oh, you know what we should do?
Well,
what is your favorite woman-centered video game?
There we go.
And I'm going to take Lara Croft.
Tomb
Raider.
Probably Metroid.
Oh. We're going to steal them all before Silver can get to it, so she'll sound like the misogynist.
Left 4 Dead.
Silver, what do you got?
Because I always played as I forget her name now, but I always played as the lady
How sexist are you, Silver?
because she wore Converse.
She's Googling, I swear.
She's super.
She's looking it up.
Either that or a connection with
Hello, the
God.
audio went again.
Nah.
Favorite
it's so
female-centered video game? Do you have an answer for this?
Really like Tomb Raider. Also,
Yeah, well, I already said that. You can't.
Nier Automata.
Nier, yeah.
Oh, Nier, ah.
Yeah.
Oh, I should have said
That's fun,
Bayonetta,
right?
even though I've never played it.
Soulsy, little Soulsy. Goodness.
It's just my female character off of Bloodborne, and no.
My OG female character.
Oh,
My original
I
character
forget
created
the
by me.
name of that game. I wish I could remember.
You're just sitting there thinking about Black Butler as a problem.
I know.
There's the problem.
I can't get my mind off Sebastian.
Gosh, Val.
Isn't it horrible that I won't let you marry him in
In Stardew?
Stardew? Because I'm a bigot.
Yes, that is a tragedy, but I have vowed that if we ever go back to it, fine, I'll abandon him and Elliot.
I want that emo to cry. It was immature and funny how annoyed I was that you refused to abandon Sebastian. You were going to marry him no matter what I said. Screw that guy, that emo douchebag.
Fabio. Just to make you happy, it's going to be Fabio.
Well, why not football douche? What's wrong with football douche?
Yeah, all-American football douche.
Yeah, he's something.
Are you a bigot? Is this bigotry I hear from you? This is Women's Month.
Hey, at least I avoided the lady that eats rock.
Oh, that's right. I forgot she eat rocks.
Oh God.
Hey, the girl I'm gonna marry likes sticks, so I don't know what you want.
Oh, that's right. Stick.
Stick.
Driftwood.
Rhett's mentally handicapped character.
First of all, he's not mentally handicapped. You invented that. Second of all, the fact that if anything, I'm dating the mentally handicapped person, which is worse in a way.
I was gonna say that is so much worse.
Remember her name.
Well, it was the easiest to give her gifts because all she wanted was driftwood to craft driftwood sculptures, I assume.
And you're lucky that I enjoy fishing so much.
Yeah, you give me every driftwood, and I just walk over and give her the stick and leave. Our relationship is based off of like almost like a dog returning sticks to its owner. Here, take your stick. I'm leaving. Just take it. She's like, wow, our relationship is great. We've got things going on.
Artwork.
Oh, that's
she did
right.
make me artwork. I have a really bad-looking sculpture in my house.
Oh my gosh, we need to play that again.
I don't know. I'm afraid of Sebastian and you marrying him, and as your legitimate father, I say no.
I promise I won't. I'll marry Fabio.
So are we done, Silver, in your podcast debut, or what are we doing?
Yes, I believe we are done. Thank you all for joining. Now that I'm signing us off here, for some reason. I didn't even know it was Women's History Month, honestly.
Wow, that's how much internalized misogyny you have.
You know how I found out? Ross told me.
I forgot my birthday and walked in here.
Well, I found out because Ross told me that there was a Women's History background
for
background for Xbox, yeah. And it's like, oh man,
my
this would have been
gosh.
History Month.
I haven't been on in like a week, so
You missed much.
can't
We'll
wait
get
to
it
see
for you.
that.
So we gonna sign off? What
Anyway.
do you want?
You can leave us off with something positive. Go ahead, Brett.
Don't do a lot of crack. Some. Just not
Don't do a lot, just moderate.
moderation
Moderate
in
your drug
everything.
use.
Moderate amount
It's
of
like a
crack.
sip of wine in the night is healthy.
just a
Supposedly.
just a shot of heroin. It's a little
Just a little
taste.
bit.
Just a little bit.
Just a little bit won't hurt
Just
you.
Yeah.
dipping your finger in some salt, just a little bit.
Just a little bit.
Anyway, is that all? We're good?
Yeah.
Great ending.
Let's just all trail off.
I don't know what
awkward
I'm
silence
doing
here.
here.
Well, anyway.
Yeah.
just
Well,
tell me
anyway, yes,
to
thank
outro.
you.
This is Women's Month. Command. We need leadership.
Okay,
You are
I don't know if you're
God.
ready.
Oh, I'm always
Outro.
ready.
3, 2, 1, go!
Oh.
Ah! Oh.
If you like the show, follow Rhett, Jason, Ross, and Silver, the world's most lethally stupid internet personalities, on Twitter at DG Podcast or on Instagram at Distracted Gamers. If you liked or hated what you heard here today, you can email them at thedistractedgamers@gmail.com and share your feelings. Not that Jason would care, since he hasn't any, of course.
Oh my God, it's so juicy.